Karoline Leavitt is set to step down as Donald Trump's press secretary by the end of this month. But the White House's prominent MAGA face has triggered chatter on social media through her latest Instagram story. Levitt shared a passage from the Gospel of John featuring one particularly striking word, truth, on social media. The timing has prompted questions about whether the post carried a deeper message about her departure. But there is important context. Levitt has spoken publicly about her Catholic faith for years and has explained her decision to leave the White House as a deeply personal one centered around her family. According to the Irish Star, the 28-year-old shared the passage on her Instagram story after announcing her exit. It read, "Jesus said to him, 'I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me.' John 14:6. While the word truth quickly became a focus of speculation, the verse itself is a well-known biblical passage and fits with Levitt's publicly discussed religious beliefs. Levitt's explanation for leaving the administration centers on motherhood. According to the report, she and her husband, Nicholas Riccio, welcomed their second child, a daughter named Viviana, on May 1st. They also have a 2-year-old son, Nicholas. Levitt described her decision as bittersweet, saying becoming a mother of 2 changed how she viewed the demands of the White House role. She wrote, "The truth is, since returning to the White House after the birth of my daughter, I have felt in my heart that I cannot be the best mom my 2 young children deserve." She said the constant time, energy, and attention required of the White House press secretary made it difficult to balance the job with being the mother she wanted to be. She said that was why she ultimately decided to depart the White House and embark on a new chapter in her life. So, publicly, her stated reason is family, not a political dispute. Donald Trump's response also suggests the departure is not being framed as a falling out. On Truth Social, Trump called Karoline one of his most trusted aides and said he totally understands and honors her decision to focus on her young children. But Trump also signaled that Levitt's political career is far from over. He wrote, "Karoline will now be one of my top outside advisors and an influential voice within the Republican Party." That means Levitt may be leaving the White House podium, but she is not necessarily leaving Trump's political orbit. Instead, Trump is signaling that he expects her to remain an influential voice outside the administration. And that brings us back to the Bible verse. Was Levitt deliberately sending a message by sharing a passage centered on the way, the truth, and the life? Or was she simply expressing her faith at a major personal turning point? And now, another Levitt post from just before her exit is drawing attention, this time involving Marco Rubio and his wife.
Controversy has erupted over Karoline Leavitt's recent social media behavior involving U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio and his wife. Just before announcing her decision to leave the White House press secretary job, Leavitt on May 11th had reposted a clip of Rubio discussing marital disagreements with Jeanette Rubio, but offered absolutely no explanation for why she shared it. Rubio and his wife Jeanette Rubio joined Katie Miller's podcast, where the couple was quizzed about the topics they encounter in their marriage. Leavitt reshared the clip originally posted by the Department of State's official X account. However, she offered no explanation for reposting the video of Rubio and his wife discussing their relationship. During the podcast, Miller turned to the U.S. Secretary of State's wife and asked what was the one thing she disagreed with Rubio on. Rubio jokingly asked, "One?" before bursting into laughter. Leavitt reshared the clip just before her sudden announcement of stepping down from her position as White House press secretary when the month ends. Leavitt just recently returned to the White House after taking a brief leave for the birth of her second child in May. She has been one of the most visible advocates of Trump's Make America Great Again movement. It was Donald Trump who broke the news first, calling Leavitt as one of his most trusted aides. Trump posted on Truth Social, and I quote, "Our wonderful White House press secretary and one of my most trusted aides, Karoline Leavitt, will be departing her role at the end of the month so she can spend more time with her beautiful young children and family, a decision I totally understand and respect. Karoline will now be one of my top outside advisors and an influential voice within the Republican Party as we work to defy history and conclusively win the midterm elections. Karoline has been a real leader in the White House and has done a phenomenal job fighting for justice, liberty, and freedom since 2018, including our historic re-election campaign of 2024. Karoline has been one of the best White House press secretaries in the history of the office. Thank you, Karoline, for a job well done. President Donald J. Trump." On her X account, Karoline Leavitt had thanked President Trump and said, "The truth is, since returning to the White House after the birth of my daughter, I have felt in my heart that I cannot be the best mom my two young children deserve while devoting the constant time, energy, and attention required of the White House press secretary. And that is why I have ultimately made the bittersweet decision to depart the White House and embark on a new chapter in my life." Trump's claims of empowering strong women has sparked a fierce online row after a Fox News commentator raised the issue of Leavitt's replacement.
Donald Trump's press secretary is leaving the White House, but it is what a Fox News host said while discussing her replacement that has triggered a brutal backlash. Karoline Leavitt is stepping down. Fox News panelists began debating who could replace her. Then commentator Charles Hurt made one claim about Trump and women that viewers simply were not buying. Hurt said Trump likes to empower strong women. Within hours, social media users were pulling apart that argument, pointing to women who have already left Trump's administration and questioning whether the description matched his record. But before we get to that backlash, there's a bigger change happening inside Trump's White House. Trump announced that Leavitt would leave her position at the end of the month, saying she wanted more time with her family. In his announcement, Trump called her one of my most trusted aides and said she would be departing so she can spend more time with her beautiful young children and family, a decision I totally understand and respect. Trump also described Leavitt as one of the best White House press secretaries in the history of the office and thanked her for a job well done. But Trump made it clear that Leavitt may be leaving the podium, not his political orbit. He said she will now be one of my top outside advisors and an influential voice within the Republican Party. So the obvious question became, who gets one of the most visible jobs in Washington next? That question reached Fox News' The Five, where the panel discussed possible replacements. Charles Hurt floated Fox News host Shannon Bream, and his reasoning immediately changed the conversation. Hurt said Shannon's going to be the next press secretary. Why? Because she's a strong woman. And what does Donald Trump like to do more than anything else? Empower strong women. He surrounds himself with strong women who are very, very good at their jobs. That was the line that set social media alight. Hurt then laughed and admitted, yes, I picked her because she's blonde. Shannon Bream jokingly asked, are you suggesting that Jessica is going to take the job? Tarlov fired back, I think my hair is far too dark for that job. The exchange may have been lighthearted inside the studio, but outside it, the reaction quickly became much sharper. According to the Irish Star, viewers on X challenged Hurt's description of Trump as someone who empowers strong women. One viewer wrote, yes, just ask Pam Bondi, Kristi Noem, and Tulsi Gabbard how empowered they were. Another comment claimed he's fired a majority of the women in his cabinet. These are social media reactions and should be treated as opinions and claims from individual users, not established findings. Still, they show why Hurt's comment became the story rather than simply another round of speculation over Leavitt's replacement. Some reactions became intensely personal and brought up Trump's past controversies. Other users attacked the idea that Trump's political circle represented female empowerment at all. One wrote, haven't most of those empowered strong women already been replaced by old white guys? The backlash was not simply about one Fox News sentence anymore. It had opened a much broader argument over Trump's relationship with prominent women in his political operation, who gets elevated, who leaves, and how his supporters describe his leadership. And all of this started with what should have been a straightforward conversation about replacing Karoline Levitt. For Karoline Levitt herself, however, Trump's announcement was overwhelmingly complimentary. Trump wrote, "Karoline has been a real leader in the White House and has done a phenomenal job fighting for justice, liberty, and freedom since 2018, including our historic re-election campaign of 2024. Her departure, therefore, does not appear, at least from Trump's public statement, to represent a political breakup. Instead, Trump is positioning her as someone who could continue advising him from outside the White House. But her departure creates an important vacancy, and speculation has already begun." Besides Shannon Bream, the Irish Star reported that Trump aide Natalie Harp was also believed to be among the names potentially in the running. There has been no confirmation in the material reported here that either woman will ultimately get the job. So, Karoline Levitt's exit has unexpectedly become about much more than who stands behind the White House podium next. A Fox News discussion about her successor turned into a debate over Trump's treatment of women, his political record, and even the image his allies present of him. Charles Hurt said Trump surrounds himself with strong women who are very, very good at their jobs. Some Fox News viewers responded with disbelief. And that clash between Trump's supporters and his critics may continue long after a new press secretary is chosen. Because Levitt's replacement will eventually be announced, but the argument triggered by the search for her successor has already moved far beyond the briefing room.